coming to you from the wild, wild western side of San Antonio.
Sure, that works.
That works. It's not deep in a bunker. But,
no, we're not in a bunker.
Not anymore.
And we're not in the streets. I didn't like that
No,
last time.
we're not in the streets. Apparently, that's not going to work for some of my podcast crew here. This is Smoking Guns Podcast. I'm Phillip Higginbotham. I am sitting here with Leo Yamas.
Hey, guys.
I'm sitting here with R.C. Woods.
Hello, fans.
And we're sitting here with a special guest. We're sitting here with head coach of the San Antonio Gunslingers, Tony Hernandez. Coach, how you doing?
Yay.
I'm doing fine. Thank you for the invite.
No, we're excited to have you. We're excited to talk to you and learn a little bit about you and talk to you about Gunslingers football. But first and foremost, and if you're checking in with us live right now on Facebook, you're going to get to watch this. If you're not, you're just going to get to listen to it. And I don't know how interesting of a radio it will be, but we got you a gift, Coach. It's sitting here in front of you. You will be the very first. Well, go ahead and take a look.
Go ahead and open it.
All right.
Yep. It won't bite.
I know this is riveting radio.
We could say drum roll, but
Drum roll.
I wish I had a drum roll sound effect. We should have had
we
that.
should have had that.
So, Coach Hernandez, you will be the very first person to have a Smoking Guns podcast T-shirt.
Very first one.
I checked with the team and made sure I knew your size or found out your size. It's got your name on it there. It says Coach Hernandez. It's got the cowboy on the side of it, and then on the sleeve, Southern Texas Designs. Hannah and
that.
Roy J-Bone over at Southern Texas
Yes.
Designs put those together for us. They are putting together some shirts
Thanks,
for
guys.
the show.
Thank you so much.
And we're excited about that. We should have those soon, and we should start taking orders on those. If you're interested in having a shirt very much like the coaches, but you'll never have a shirt just like the coaches because it has his name on it. So we wanted to give you that. We wanted to let you know. So, Coach, let me just tell you how we got to this table. We used to do a show a long time ago for the Commanders, and we're not going to talk. That's like the last time I'm going to mention the Commanders. I'm going to do my job and not talk about the Commanders anymore. But we did a show for the Commanders, and then when all of that fell apart, our show kind of fell apart as well because we didn't have anything to talk about anymore. We tried just general.
Couple of months we tried just covering a general football.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
football
College,
in San
some high
Antonio.
school.
San Antonio.
That's a big bite. There's a lot going on when you're talking about football around the San Antonio area. So we walked away from the show, and when we got contacted about the Gunslingers, all three of us around this table said, I don't know that we're ready to do that again. So we came out to Alamo Distillery and sat down with Jason and Hector and the rest of the ownership group. And we heard what they had to say, and we were like, okay, it sounds kind of interesting. And then we all heard you. And independently, we've talked about this now.
Yes.
But independently, all of us, once you began talking, we're like, I can get behind this. Like, I can get
sure.
excited about this.
You motivated
You
us.
sold
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
That's what we really did.
I was ready to run through a brick wall for you after that.
I was ready to try out. I don't even like football that much. No kidding.
So, Coach, tell us where we know you're from here, but they don't, the folks listening right now might not. You're from here, and when I say here, like you were telling us, you grew up within a few miles of where we're sitting right now.
6 minutes down the road. I originally born at Brady Green Hospital.
Okay.
October the 10th. If you're hearing, jot that down. So
October the 10th. Got it.
I'm running low on cologne.
Okay.
We lived over there by Edison High School, and I tell people that I didn't learn how to speak English until around the second or third grade. Spanish was my first language, and I went to elementary school at Will Rogers, and there is a community center right there by Fresno and San Pedro. Used to be homes. City of San Antonio took it by what they call in real estate eminent domain.
Yeah.
And because of that, we ended up moving over here by Thomas Jefferson, right on the corner of Wilson and Magnolia. And that's where I grew up. And, I've been here, born and raised. I've lived in Houston for 2 or 3 years. Then I came back. I've traveled a lot because of ministry. Okay. But otherwise, this is my city.
So you went to Jefferson High School.
I did.
I'm guessing since you're a football coach, you were probably a football player, or is that
I
right?
was, and I was very fortunate to be around some really good guys. But I tell a lot of people that I was very influenced by people that were coaches, I one of the things that I've learned is try not to speak ill of the dead. But my father wasn't very involved in my life.
Okay.
He was very disconnected, battled alcohol bad. And at an early age, I tried out for Pop Warner football, and I got cut. I got cut because you had to weigh 80 pounds, and you had to weigh 76 pounds, and I weighed 80 pounds, and I got cut. And I can't tell you how devastated I was because all I'd ever wanted to do was play football. And finally, I talked my mother into paying the fee for me to play football at NCAA right off of Woodlawn
Yes.
and St. Cloud. They've renovated it, but back then there were a couple of coaches. There was a man by the name of Tony Alfaro and Coach Bentoncourt. And I was a little boy, and I never forget that, playing football there, I really, really wanted to stick. It was something that I could identify with. I was going to be one of the kids and one of the boys. And the time of the weigh-ins, I didn't make it, and I still remember crying. I mean, just inconsolable. And the first impression or influence in my life was Tony Alfaro, who has now passed away. But he grabbed me and he gave me kisses on my forehead, and he says, I know what I'm telling you. He goes, you're going to grow up and you're going to be a fantastic young man and you're going to be a leader one day. He goes, and I'm so sorry you can't be with us, but I'm confident that you're going to make it in life. I walked home, and my father, I was there. He goes, why are you here so early? I said, I didn't make it. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I got cut. And when I got cut, the things that he had to say to me can't be repeated on this podcast.
Sure.
But I made a decision that day. Who was I going to believe? I was either going to believe the words of my paternal father or I was going to believe the words of Tony Alfaro.
Sure.
And at 53, I made a decision to believe Coach Alfaro. And from then on, I went to Horseman, and there was a coach by the name of Charlie Munoz. Mm-hmm. I grew up very poor. I grew up on food stamps. Grew up on WIC. There were times that we stayed at the Alassane Apache courts. Mm-hmm. We stayed in the projects at times because of the household that I lived in. At times, my father was so abusive that we would have to flee for safety. And we were poor. I remember being at Horseman Middle School, and back then, after PE, you had to shower, and I wanted to play football again. I wanted to play for Coach Munoz, and again, that's why I'm saying the coaches made an indelible impression because I was in the 6th grade, and it was time to shower after PE, and it's awkward because times have changed.
True.
But he was standing there making sure everybody was showering, and I got out of the shower, and he looked at me, and goes, "Hey boy, where's your soap?" And I looked at him, he goes, "Where's your shampoo?" Back then, it was Head and Shoulders and Zest.
Right.
That's what you used.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I mumbled, and I don't have any, coach. And the next day, Coach Munoz showed up with a bar of Zest, Head and Shoulders, and 2 towels. He says, "You make sure and go to class smelling good." And then I went to high school, and Pat Bailey and Drew Crawford, and Coach Townsend, just men that just gave me a map on what kind of man I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. So coaching, I've always told people I've been guilty of not always knowing what I didn't want to be. I've been guilty at times of saying I don't know what I want to be, but I've always known what I didn't want to be. And I say it in a somber tone. I never wanted to be my father.
Right.
But I did want to be like Coach Munoz. I did want to be like Coach Alfaro. I did want to be like Coach Bailey. I did want to be like Coach Crawford because these guys built me up. They sent me home and restored my self-esteem. So when I coach football, some of these guys, they think it's X's and O's. No, I'm trying to help you realize your purpose.
Sure.
Because you can't play football forever.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But you can be a man of integrity. You can be a leader. You can be a good husband. and be a good father. Because you can't run routes forever. Can't tackle forever. Your body's going to tell you eventually, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So that's where it's at.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with my wife today, and I was saying, hey, we're going to go record with the head coach. And she goes, don't you come home thinking you're going to go sign up to play for the Gunslingers. And I'm like, those days have passed. Like, if I ever had those days are past. Like, I'm not in shape anymore where I could play football. But even if I got into shape, like, there are musculoskeletal issues that would, my knees hurt if I play 2 rounds of disc golf in the same day. I can't imagine going out there and running and doing some of the things that we watched just a couple of Saturdays ago.
Right.
Some of these guys do. So
thank you, Coach, for sharing, because that really speaks to a lot of people out there. I know we all come from different backgrounds, and I think you really touched on a lot of hearts right there. It reminds me of a saying that you can learn 2 things from everybody you meet: what to do and what not to do. You know?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that.
And just believe, if you have one person who believes in you, sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
And not all of us are lucky enough to have that role model, that person to mold you as a young man or young person at home. It doesn't necessarily always come from the home. I know just from personal experience growing up, and then for my son, that a lot of influence that he had and that I had growing up in athletics with coaches or teachers, that person can come from any number of locations throughout your life. And it's important to realize that they're out there, and you can find that guidance somewhere if you're not finding it at your home.
well, and if you don't have that, like, if that's not your story, because, like, I had incredible parents. Like, my parents were amazing. And there was a time in my life where, at church specifically, I felt bad one day because everybody had these stories of, I used to do this and that, and I used to be involved in drugs, and I used to do this. And they had this big, amazing conversion story. And I got upset, and I was like, I don't have anything like that. My youth minister pulled me aside and go, do you understand how awesome it is that you don't have to experience what they've had to experience? The fact that you have had it well through your life. You have parents that love you and care about you. You didn't walk down some of these other paths. Like, that's not a bad thing. That's the most, like, any of these kids you're talking about would love to trade that story with you. Like, they would love for you to take their story and them to take yours.
That's true.
So we all come from different spots. Coach, you go to Jefferson High School. Out of high school, did you pursue playing beyond that in college or semi-pro or any of that kind of stuff?
I wanted to change the world. So when I went to college, I got a degree in theology.
Okay.
And I wanted to change the world.
Sure.
And I tell people in a funny way, once I graduated from college, I realized that a lot of the world didn't want to change.
Right.
And, so the thing is that, football's been an on and off thing. Like I said, I pursued my education. I really, I wasn't fooling myself. I know I wasn't going to go too far. I was never the biggest or the fastest,
Right.
So I tried to play with my brains as well as I could. But I knew very, very fast that, my ceiling was a lot closer to touch than I realized. So the education I really did pursue as hard as I could. So I tell people in a funny way, I'm 12 hours from my master's, but I got a degree in theology. So
Okay.
Figure.
And where'd you go to school?
I finished up at Latin American Bible Institute.
Oh, is that here in
where I
San Antonio?
No, it's not. That's outside of the city limits.
Oh, okay.
But that's where I finished up everything.
Okay. And so you spent some time, we talked a little bit about this before we got on air. You spent some time as a youth pastor, which is what I did.
I did.
And then you pastored a church. You said your first church when you were 21?
I was 21.
Okay.
And
Wow.
what ended up happening was that I was working at a church, and the senior pastor came to me and says, "Hey, listen, I need you to go speak at this church for the next 2 Sundays." I said, "Oh, okay." He goes, "It's going to shut down." He goes, "There's a bunch of troublemakers. There's like 15 of them, and one of them got in a fist fight with a pastor." I said, "Okay." He goes, "And I don't think they'll get in a fist fight with you because you're a little bit bigger, and I think you can fight." He goes, "But just go over there." He goes, "It's not going to make it, but if anything, just learn." And 3 years later, we had taken it up to 195 people.
Nice.
Awesome.
It's incredible.
So go figure.
No, I know. I mean, in ministry, and that's what I do, seeing numbers jump or dip, sometimes you put a lot of that on yourself and what am I doing wrong or what am I doing right? And you and I both know that that's not so much what it has to do with.
And I'm looking for potential.
Right.
If you're looking for flaws, you're going to find them.
Sure.
If you look for potential in people, if you look hard enough, there's potential in everyone. We're all created with a purpose and potential. All of us are. So there are some people that their eyesight they're looking for flaws.
Right.
I'm always looking for what you've got something. We just got to find it.
Right.
So, 2.5, 3 years later, we went from 15 to, outgrowing the facility, having to do some other stuff. So that's how it worked.
So at what point did you jump back into coaching? Jump into coaching? Because at this point,
I jumped back into coaching in 1996. I was in Houston, Texas, and I was reading the paper.
I was still in high school,
Yeah, I was reading the paper, and I read about a Houston team having a tryout.
Yeah.
And I went and did it, and I played for 2 or 3 years. And the head coach told me, he goes, you should really coach. I said, no. He goes, no, yeah, you should really coach. And I ended up coaching, and I met some wonderful men that till this very day we're still friends. I met a young man by the name of Will Thomas, Flavius Taylor, Outlaw. Outlaw is just one tremendous football player that was just mean, gentle. He introduced me to Cajun food. I'd never eaten boudin.
Oh.
Till Outlaw taught me how to eat boudin. I'd never heard of Zydeco.
Uh-oh.
And he goes, and they used to call me Uncle Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a bunch of wonderful players and I just went coaching. And then when I came to San Antonio, my spouse didn't want me to coach because she said that it was too taxing emotionally. And I said, okay, I'm done. And I went to the HEB off of Evers and 410, and on my way home, I saw this team practicing.
Uh-oh.
And they looked pathetic.
Okay.
And I did. I hope it didn't sound arrogant, but I got off my vehicle and I was watching them. And I didn't have a business card, but I wrote my phone number on a piece of paper and I said, here, call me if you want to win.
Just like that.
And the guy looked at me, he goes, what? I said, call me if you want to win. If you want to win, call me. Okay? That's all I'm going to tell you. They called me, and for the next 5 years, they were in the playoffs every single season. And, the thing is that one of the things that I've learned as a coach is it's your job to extract. Mm-hmm. It's your job to pull. I tell people all the time, and I'm going to tell the Gunslingers, I'm either going to make you better or I'm going to make you leave. But I'm going to make you do something. That's it. You're either going to get better or you're going to get left behind. But I'm definitely going to make you do something. So the thing is that men want to belong to something that they're proud of, that they can say, hey, I belong to something.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So my mentality and my approach is create something that people say, I want to be a part of that. It's sharp. It's operated well. It's got guidelines. It's got protocol. It's got chain of command. It's got leadership. It's got foundation. That's what I want. Very simple. Very simple. It's not rocket science. And one of the things that I've learned is, you're good at something when you can simplify the complicated. You stink when you complicate the simple. That's when you're like, okay. We've all had teachers that were like, for some inexplicable reason, we just aced their class. What is it? He just simplified the complicated. That's it. Wasn't anything. It was just he created an environment where I was like, I'm going to buy into this. That's coaching 101.
So all told, before you took a job with the Gunslingers, how many years have you been coaching?
18.
Okay.
17, 18 years.
And in that time, not all as a head coach, right? But coaching.
Pretty much all.
Okay.
2 years as an assistant.
Okay. And in those 18 years, in those seasons, how many, and this isn't the only measure of success, but how many championship years have you walked through with teams?
4.
That's amazing.
Four championships. They're semi-pro and they're, so they don't go in the books, but, Yeah.
When
is winning?
when you're
W
taking
for W.
the team, when you're taking the field with this team and you're going against that team, like everybody in your league or division or whatever you want to call it is going for the same thing. And when you can hold up that trophy or announce yourself champion at the end of the year, it doesn't matter what the level of competition is like.
Well, and the thing is that in semi-pro, you're not paying anybody.
Right.
So for you to get people to follow you in semi-pro, there's no vested interest.
Motivation is a completely different deal.
So the thing is that right now, Facebook is a platform for everybody. Some people are going to, when I decided to do this, I was expecting a lot of people to be excited and say, "Man, I'm happy for you." But there are a lot of people that have been negative, have taken their shots, and it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I was able to take guys that I didn't pay, couldn't compensate in any manner, and I was able to do something to have them achieve success. So it's got to say something, whether they want to give you credit or not.
Sure.
That I'm not. One of the things that I've learned at 53 is don't wait around expecting people to say thank you.
Right.
Because you may be waiting a good long time.
No doubt.
And
no doubt.
Some people that you're not gonna appease. So it is what it is. And what I've done is try to whatever organization I've gone to, just like I've gone to the Gunslingers, my commitment is I want to leave you in a better situation than when we first met. That's my objective. I just want you to be better than you were last season. And if I can do that, I've done my job.
And say what all the naysayers say and everyone that has, their opinions from the outside. But those men, those guys that you were leading, those accomplishments, that time is something that they're probably never, ever going to forget.
Smoking Guns Podcast, Phillip Higginbotham, Leo Llamas, R.C. Woods, and we're sitting down with Coach Tony Hernandez. We're going to take a break for just a second. When we come back, we're going to start talking about the Gunslingers, how that happened and how that came about and what the future looks like for that. Do you own a business? Are you looking for an affordable way to reach out to hundreds of football fans? Or do you have a favorite local restaurant or bar or service or product that you think fits in perfect with the Gunslingers or with the Smoking Guns podcast? Guys, we're looking for sponsors right now, and we'd love to hear from them, right?
Of course.
We have lots of different opportunities for sponsors to be part of the show. We'd love to be the connection between hundreds of listeners and your business. All you need to do is email us at SmokinGunzPod. That's smoking, no G, guns with a Z.
With the Z.
Yeah. And then pod, P-O-D, at gmail.com. That's a little different than what we gave you last time. We've changed our email address so that it lines up with everything else. SmokinGunzPod at gmail.com. We'll find a spot for your business. Or we'll reach out to your favorite San Antonio or South Texas business and get them on board with your favorite podcast. Advertising works, and we know that because you're listening right now.
They're hearing this right now, so
you're
it's
hearing
working.
this, and this is where your spot could run. So email us, SmokinGunzPod at gmail.com. We'll find the best way for you to get involved.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. Now then, let's talk about hot sauce. Teardrop Pepper Company's award-winning Golden Habanero Hot Sauce has a delicious pineapple, mango, garlic blend, quickly followed by a habanero kick to give it the perfect combo of flavor and heat.
That just sounds awesome.
It does sound awesome.
It sounds looks amazing.
Oh, I don't know about that. We're excited about this. In fact, we are sitting here with bottles of Teardrop Pepper Company's Golden Habanero Sauce sitting in front of us at the table right now.
That's right.
We are excited about what they're doing.
I'm excited to put it on my pizza.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited. And we know there's more coming from Teardrop Pepper Company. He told us a couple of weeks ago that they are working on another recipe right now.
Even hotter.
Even hotter. So here's what you can do. Teardrop Pepper Company is proudly making their hot sauce right down the road in Austin, Texas. And you don't have to drive all the way to Austin to get it. You can order from their website, www.teardroppepperco.com. One more time, it's Teardrop Pepper Co., all one word, .com. Use the offer code ARENA, ARENA, and get 10% off your order.
10%? That's pretty good.
That's great. And you're not going to just want to buy one bottle.
No.
You're going to want to buy a few bottles because you don't want to run out of this stuff. And it's not like you can just run around the corner to HEB and pick it up.
That's true.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We'll get them there. Don't forget to follow Teardrop on Instagram or Facebook at teardroppepepperco.com on both of those platforms to keep up with their latest creations. Smoking Guns Podcast, Phillip Higginbotham, Leo Llamas, R.C. Woods. We're sitting down with head coach, Tony Hernandez of the San Antonio Gunslingers. Coach, we talked a little bit about you and who you are coming into this time with the Gunslingers. How do you end up connecting with them? Are these guys that you've run across before? Did they reach out to you? Like, how did this happen?
I get a phone call, and they're like, Coach Hernandez. I'm like, yes. They're like, we'd like to talk to you.
Depends on who you are.
Yeah.
Coach.
They said, we'd like to talk to you. I'm like, about? They said, well, we'd like to talk to you about a project that's coming up, and we'd like to talk to you about it. I said, okay, well, what's it about? And that's when they started talking to me about there's an arena football team, and it's going to be opening up. And I stopped them immediately. I said, listen, let me let you know ahead of time that I'm coaching a football team right now. We're in the middle of a season, and I'm not about to get up and leave them. I've made a commitment to them. I'm not going to leave. And he says, no. What we're doing is not going to happen until 2021.
Right.
I said, okay. I said, because I'm committed. I said, and I'm not the type to just get up and jump ship. And he says, no, okay. I said, all right. And he started to, tell me what they were doing. And one of the things that I told him, I said, listen, the majority of my life I've coached 11-man football. I said, so I feel very at home. And he was talking to me about, the arena and the opportunities and stuff. And I said, okay. And we spoke, hung up, and I left it alone. And around 2.5 weeks later, he called again. And he goes, what do you think? I said, well, I've talked to my wife about it, and going to give it some thought. Then COVID hit, and it put an end to the season that I was participating as the head coach of the team that I was with.
Right.
And I'm like, well, okay, let's see what's going to happen. But out of respect, I made sure to contact the owner of the team, and I said, hey, listen, I want to let you know that I got a phone call a couple of weeks ago. I'm thinking about it. It's something that I'd like to consider taking. But if I do, you'll be the first person to know because I'm not going to do it in a backwards way. Right. And he says, okay. He goes, and to be honest with you, Coach, he goes, I think it's an awesome opportunity. He goes, I support you. I said, okay. I said, but I just want you to know that we'll do it the right way. So I spoke with the owners. We sat down and came to a mutual agreement. And as soon as I left the office, I immediately called the owner. I said, hey, listen, I want you to know that I'm going to go ahead and pursue this. And since the season has officially been canceled because of this, I just want you to know. Right. I'm not going to announce it for a good 2.5 weeks, but I will notify the team that I'm officially stepping down today. 2 weeks later, I'll go ahead and announce that I've accepted the position. And trying to do it as tactfully as possible.
Right.
But like we said in the last segment, sometimes you're just not going to make everybody happy. But behind the curtains, that's how it happened.
Okay. So what was it about this opportunity that interested you? You didn't need this. Like, this wasn't something that you needed on your plate.
And, the compensation is nice, but I've got a life. And at 53, I tell people I'm going to do what I want to do. Mm-hmm. I don't have to. I've worked hard at doing things so that when I get to this point in life, I can do what I want to do. That I'm not contingent on what the government's going to do for me or for what. No, I'm not doing that. My mother used to say, control your destiny or somebody will control it for you.
Sure.
So I've tried as well as I can to make good choices to where I can get to the point in my life where I can enjoy it. needless to say, one of the things that I did was I married an amazing woman. No joke. That's a story. Anyhow, just telling you.
RC's going to spend some time with her
That's
later
right.
this
I
week.
Just so you know. An amazing woman. Amazing. And she's from Missouri, so just so you know. So I always tell her I love 24 because I'm 28. Texas is the 28th state, and Missouri was the 24th. So I always tell her 24 loves 28. So anyhow.
Right.
Okay.
But just, man, you made me jump over the tracks.
That's what we do. We're good at that.
So, why take it? Because it was a challenge.
Okay.
It was a challenge in building stuff, building football teams, building people, pastoral.
Sure.
Love building people. I'm friends with Outlaw. I'm friends with Flavius. And I've seen these guys that were young guys turn into phenomenal fathers. I've seen guys grow. I had a young man that's in Louisiana who was a bouncer when I first met him. His name was Steve Amador. Now he's a police officer, and he's serving his community. And I'm like, I helped that guy change his life.
That's awesome.
So why accept this opportunity or the challenge or whatever anybody wants to call it? The opportunity, the challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember when we first met you at the meeting we were talking about, and you talked about not just coaching football for X's and O's, but the opportunity to mold men, to make young men into better men as they progress in life. I remember you saying that, and with the eloquent words you use and the passion that you always speak with, it seems like you always speak from the heart. You can really tell that you really feel that.
We have a shortage of leadership in this country.
Yes.
We have a shortage
No doubt.
of leadership. We have a lot of people that are looking left and right, and we're looking for people. And one of the things that I've understood is as a man, if you don't know where you're going, what's your family going to do? You've got to know where you're going. You've got to chart it. You've got to have a plan. You can't just get up and say, well, it is what it is. Wherever the day goes, I don't handle it that way. And one of the things is that I want these young men to understand you can be so much more than just a football player. Mm-hmm. Like I said, when I was 10 years old, Tony Alfaro changed my life just because he, over a 30-second hug and a 30-second statement. I mean, when I get to heaven, I got to find Tony and say, Coach, you spoke life to me, Coach. You altered how I saw myself and how I saw my tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So when somebody says, why coach? Because if I can find one guy, you know what's one of the coolest stories? I read up on it. There's a guy by the name of Mordecai. He was an evangelist. He went to South Carolina, and he preached at a revival. And he was belly aching because not a lot of people came and made a decision to change their lives.
Okay.
And one of his peers goes, so how did it go? He goes, it didn't go well. He goes, I had one kid come up. He goes, really? He goes, yes, some kid named William Graham, some kid named Billy Graham.
Right. Right.
And the rest is history.
That's right.
One kid. But that one kid, look what he's done for the world.
It's true.
How many lives did he change? So you're like, well, is there a kid? Is there a young man that are in the Gunslingers that in 20 years from now can be coaching in the NFL, can be coaching in the CFL? And if I can put my fingerprints and help him get to that point, then I've done my part.
So let's talk a little bit about the X's and O's side of things. What do you see yourself as? Are you more of an offensive coach? Are you more of a defensive coach? That's actually a question we got from J-Bone.
J-Bone, yes.
Yeah.
I cut my teeth on defense.
Okay.
And I love coaching defense.
Right.
I hope none of the guys on offense are hearing this. But if you ask me, the toughest and the meanest, the real football players are on the defensive side of the ball.
Sure.
The ambassadors and the models, the divas, they're on the offensive side of the football.
faces of the franchise.
I mean, at the tryout, I had Caleb Gambino, who has been called back, and we want to take a look at him. And he roughed up Cameron Johnson, the wide receiver. And Cameron's like, "Hey, don't put your hands on me like that."
Right.
And Caleb's like, "This is what I do." I'm like, "And that's defense. That's what I'm saying. We're here to hit you."
That was down right near the end of the day, right? We saw that.
That's when I had to bring them together and say, "Hey, listen, guys, remember, iron sharpens iron." But if you ask me my preference, I love living on the side of defense.
Great moment that came out of that because I watched that exchange and they were almost ready to go.
Yes,
They were hot.
Blood is hot, and that's the way practice is. And anybody that's been around football has seen those kind of moments. And I was kind of surprised we didn't see a little more than we saw because they were ready to go.
Yeah, it was a touching moment because I'm standing there and Caleb Gambino has tears coming down his eyes. Mm-hmm. And I said, "You okay? His father just died."
Oh, wow.
And when I called him to let him know that he had been invited to the tryout, and I told him, I said, "It's just a shame that your father's not alive to see you.
Right.
That you could tell your father, Dad, I got invited to a professional arena football team tryout." So there was a whole bunch of emotions.
Right.
And when he was temperamental, I pulled him aside. I said, "Your dad would have been proud."
Now, what I love about that moment is, so this is not something I would do as a coach. You immediately put both of those guys staring across the line at each other right back on there.
Yep.
Like they've already almost gone at it once. You've settled that situation down within a few seconds, but you put them right up against each other again. They run their pattern, and it ends up going as an interception.
Yeah.
Caleb got the INT.
Just an incredible play.
Caleb has a past with me. He's played for me 4 years, and it's easy to fall in love with him because he's just nothing's been given to him. Nothing's been on a silver platter. He's always tried to find his place at the table. So the guy's always pushing, and it's just fun to watch him because he's.
So going down the field on that play, there's a little bit of hand fighting because that's the way that works. And Caleb ends up coming up with the interception. And receiver, remind me of his name.
Cameron Johnson.
Cameron comes over and starts to approach Caleb. And I'm like, man, they're going to go again.
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Cameron gives him a pat on the bottom and good job and that a boy, that away and cheers him on.
Yeah.
Even though ultimately that went his way and not Cameron's way. I saw a lot of that on Saturday, two Saturdays ago, of players that are ultimately in competition with one another. And we mentioned this when we were talking to D'Angelo and Jeff.
And Jeffrey.
We talked about this a little bit. You're in competition with one another. Like, if that guy gets a spot, that means there's one less spot for you. And yet most of, if not all of the players that I saw out there were pushing each other. I love that. I love that side of sports, and I think that some of that goes to some of that credit goes to you as a coach because you create that kind of environment. Because I've seen coaches that create a very competitive environment against each other, where I've got to get mine because the coach, it comes down to the environment you set. Now, you're not doing this alone either. You've got a coaching staff.
I've got a couple of coaches, yes. And I've got a couple of guys that are going to be helping. I've got Coach James Walters, who did some internship and did some coaching at UTSA. I've got Greg Woodard, who is real meticulous with offense. I've got Coach Q, who's going to be helping me as an assistant head coach and helping me oversee the special teams. I've got Caleb Bloomberg, who is the quiet kid in the room. It's his first year doing anything. And as a football player, just, if he ever got a couple of snaps, and it was because of a blowout, but the guy has always wanted to help. And I told one of the owners, I said, "You see that kid right there?" And he goes, "Who?" I said, "Bloomberg." He goes, "Yeah." I said, don't sleep on him. Because I said, it's the little engine that could. And he called me. He called me around 2.5 months ago. He goes, "Coach, whatever I can do, I just want to be a part of this because you helped me grow as a man."
That's so cool.
He goes, "I just want to be a part of this so that I can grow as a man." Then I've got a guy by the name of Mike Perez, who's going to help on offense, and another guy by the name of Louis Jaramillo, who's going to help me on offense. So I've got guys that are basically saying, listen, my football days are over, but I'd like to help the young guys come up. So if that doesn't personify San Antonio, I don't know what does.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. And you see the situation with Cameron and Caleb, how it was heated, how it was contentious. And that's what I'm saying before we came on live. That's what I'm looking for. One of the things that I tell football players is this: I'm not here to compete with you. I'm here to help complete you. I'm here to help you get better, and I'm expecting you to help me get better. And if we do that, well, we can take the mountain together.
One of the things I've heard a couple of your interviews as you've been starting on this Gunslinger. You've been on a couple of podcasts already. We're excited because we're the first ones to have you live in our studio. But you've done some phone interviews and that kind of stuff. One of the things that you said that really stood out to me, and we've already talked about it on the podcast some, but now you're here and you can talk about it with us, is I have no doubt that you can play football, but I don't know if you can play football for me. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that and the impetus for that being your message to a lot of players.
My love affair with football started with Coach Tony Alfaro.
Sure.
And he taught me at the tender age of 10 that you respect the game, you respect your opponent, you win with dignity, and you lose with dignity. You have permission to be emotional, but you do not have permission to be a distraction. The minute that a flag goes up in the air, you've become a distraction. Mm-hmm. So some of these guys have to understand, Coach, I ran a 4.6, 4.7, which we had a couple of guys run dynamic times.
Sure.
We had guys that, on their cone drills were phenomenal. That's fine. I don't doubt that you can play football. But if you don't have the criteria, the ingredients, one of the things that I've learned is when things go wrong, don't go with them. When things go wrong, don't go with them. You've got to understand that you've got to make a choice and say, you know what? We're not every play is going to go in our favor. Not every call is going to go in our favor. But we've got to stay focused. We've got an agenda. We've got a plan, and we're not going to abort it. There are a lot of people that are angry with me because they didn't get an invite. And they'll tell you, but I'm fast, but I can throw and I can catch. Yeah, but you have no character. You don't know how to handle adversity. You blow up. You lose your composure. So when I basically tell people, I don't doubt that you can play, you just might not be able to play for me, is because it's got nothing to do with your abilities on the field. It's how you act on the sideline. It's how you conduct yourself during warm-up. It's how you talk to people in the stands. Because guess what? People are coming. And some people are going to heckle you.
Right.
Yep.
You've got to learn to do it. One of my favorite movies is Madagascar. Just smile and wave, boys. Just smile and wave. Cute and cuddly. Because guess what? There are people that are not going to be there to root for you. They're going to heckle you. You're going to drop the ball. They're going to talk to you. They're going to talk trash.
Right.
It's part of football. You've just got to understand, you know what? It is what it is. I am a reflection of San Antonio. I am an ambassador for sports in San Antonio. And I can't handle myself that way. I can't get on Facebook Live and do something foolish. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So you say that, Coach. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Archie.
Well, I was going to say, the great thing about this podcast is that we have these guys who are geniuses about football, and then you have me, and so I bring a different perspective. And one part that really impressed me about the combine was when you all were in a circle and the guys were doing sit-ups and everybody was encouraging each other, but then you went down and you started doing sit-ups with them. I mean, that really showed your character, that you were going to help them achieve the goal of doing those sit-ups. And that really impressed me. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, because that really showed your leadership.
No, I appreciate it.
And aside from that, like as they're doing their push-ups, as they're doing their sit-ups, there were some guys that weren't able to achieve everything that you had asked them to do. And you gave them a hard time because that's your job is to motivate them to get the extra out of themselves that they don't know is there. And I saw a couple of guys that got up and they're kind of rolling their head. They're kind of like, oh, man. And I'm thinking, if you're bothered at this point, you may want to head for the door, because I think there's a lot more of this in store, because he wants he wants every bit he can get out of you.
I want to give something to San Antonio that San Antonio can say, thank you. That's it.
Sure.
I want to present 25 men to San Antonio that say, here you go. Here you go.
That's what I was about to address a moment ago. You said, it seems to me like you really take it personally that when you took this job, when you decided to take the challenge, as you said it was, to build this team, it was going to be something that San Antonio was going to be proud of. It was something that you were putting on your shoulders, your personal goal to represent San Antonio and the essence of what San Antonio is to the rest of the world. You said something at the Combine that was captured very eloquently by our guys over at our friends over at Pub Sports Radio on the video. Which, I mean,
you saw the video, right?
Yeah.
You spent a lot of time on Facebook, so you saw the video.
Yeah.
Well, talk about getting pumped up, but the message where you have there that really came across to me was the 210's got something to say. And as a matter of fact,
make a good T-shirt, wouldn't
we've kind of talked about it, about doing a T-shirt that has something that says the 210's got something to say, as kind of a quote shirt from Coach Hernandez. So with your with your permission, that's something that the Smoking Guns podcast would like to add to their gear.
Absolutely. And the thing is
TM,
that I want people
trademark.
to know San Antonio is the place to be. I want people to understand, and you got to understand, I grew up watching George Gervin.
Yes.
James Silas, Mike Mitchell. I grew up revering David Robinson, who was the quintessential professional.
Right.
I remember being over there by Wurzbach and 410, and he was parked behind me at a red light, and I'm all like looking through the rearview mirror, and I'm waving, and what does he do? He rolls around, lowers his windows, he goes, hi. Wow. I was like, oh my gosh. David Robinson said hi to me.
Yeah.
And it was his humility. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's among the top 100 players in the NBA. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's part of the dream team. And the guy takes the time to roll down his window and say hi. And what I understand is this: we're suffering right now. We're at a shortage for humble leadership.
Yes.
For humble leadership. So the thing is this, is that I'm looking for 25 guys that won't get their head inflated, but rather will say, you know what, I'm fortunate to be in this position. And man, you know what, thank you so much. Thank you, San Antonio, for embracing us. Thank you for coming to our games. Thank you for inviting me to a podcast. Can you just go back to saying thank you?
Right.
Right. Mm.
And if we can find 25 football players that have a thankful heart, not rather, well, why aren't I getting the reps? You're not our guy.
Right.
Well, why aren't I starting? You're not our guy. You're not our guy. You're not our guy. Go back over there where you're the slot receiver and you run a 5.2 40 on turf with the wind of your back. Get out of here. I ain't got time for you. Okay? Go back to the quarterback that can't read a defense. Go get out of here. We ain't got time for you. We're looking for guys that are coachable, teachable, and have a grateful spirit. We find those guys, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. I promise you.
That reminds me of that whole, speaking of Spurs, and David Robinson is one of my all-time favorite players, but Tim Duncan kind of carried on that mentality where they said he's the superstar of the team, but Popovich would lay into him, and it was a message to the rest of the players that if Duncan can take that sort of abuse from Coach Popovich, then nobody else can step forward and say, well, why are you yelling at me?
Well, and not that we're a Spurs podcast, but that's exactly the reason that number 2's not here anymore, is he's not that kind of guy. Like, he wants to be the star. He wants to be in LA, and he wants to, be the man. And that's not the way things work with the Spurs. And so that's why, ultimately Kawhi Leonard didn't work here. He's got a different mentality than a guy like David Robinson. But an incredibly gifted player. But he's not got that mentality of a David Robinson or a Tim Duncan, and that's why it just didn't work. You can hate him. I support that. I'm not even a Spurs fan. I support Spurs fans being ticked off with a guy. But ultimately, it just wasn't going to work. He's not that kind of guy. He's a different kind of guy. Smoking Guns podcast, and apparently Spurs React too.
I was like, whoa, where did we go to there?
Smoking Guns podcast, Phillip and Leo Llamas, R.C. Woods. We're sitting down with Coach Tony Hernandez. We're going to take another quick break, and then we will be back, and we'll talk about what the future of San Antonio Gunslingers football is going to look like. Smoking Guns Podcast is excited to offer you a way to be a part of our team by supporting the show on Patreon. We're excited about bringing you the best coverage of the San Antonio Gunslingers and all the fun and the fans around the team. If you're able, head over to www.patreon.com/smokin, no G, guns with a Z, pod, and support Smoking Guns. We have a $5 level, a $10 level, a $20 level a month to help us just make this show go so that we can continue to bring you everything in and around this community that we're already getting started. And we've already had some listeners jump on board and support us.
Thank you so much.
It is amazing that Mo and Iris and Herman have all jumped on board and said, we like what, in fact, Herman said, I enjoy this show so much, I want to make sure you guys keep going.
And that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. We could not
be a true fan.
More excited to have them on board, and we would love to get more of you on board. There are costs that we just have to make the show happen, and to make this happen, money is required.
Yep, that's what it takes. But they also get a little bit in return for their generosity, right?
Yeah, each and every episode, we're going to recognize our patrons, and patrons will have priority when it comes to any questions or comments they want to get to any of our guests. We've got guests already lined up that you're excited about. Today you're hearing Coach Tony Hernandez. I will tell you that the ownership of the Gunslingers is all but confirmed for our next episode. And we've even got somebody that Command Post podcast folks will remember, I think, lined up after that.
Yes, for sure.
That may rhyme with Darcy Mace.
That's good.
We might be able,
that could be.
We might be able to put something. So you will have priority when it comes to getting questions and comments to them when we put out our merchandise, which is really, really soon. In fact, by the time you're listening to this, we may already have some merchandise starting to show up.
It's in shipping.
Yeah, it's getting shipped right now. When that happens, you're going to be you're going to be able, as a patron, to have special discounts or special priority on those orders. Help us continue to make the Gunslingers famous in San Antonio. Get all the info you're looking for about how to support the show by going over to patreon.com, SmokinGunzPod, and signing up to be a part of our team.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Smoking Guns Podcast, Phillip and Leo Llamas, R.C. Woods, head coach Tony Hernandez hanging out with us. So, Coach, let's start talking a little bit about the future. What you got one season for sure. I mean, let's be really honest. We've all been around San Antonio football. We all know that this can be a season-to-season, sometimes a game-to-game kind of thing.
Yep.
But let's call it a season-to-season thing. In season one, how is this going to be? What makes this successful? At what point will you say this has been a successful venture?
7-3.
Okay.
I'm being very, very honest. And the thing is is that I'm not going to wait around and say, well, because like I said it earlier in the podcast, I've been here all my life. I've seen teams come and go. One of the things that I did is I sat with the ownership and I said, look, one of the things that I've learned in business is that for you to be successful, you got to learn from other people's failures. Learn from other people's failures. So one of the things is, operate on a budget. Don't overspend. Don't go spending on things that you don't. I mean, there's a business principle called red light, green light. If it's working, that means green light. Keep going. But don't invest money if you keep getting red lights. Stop investing. So one of the things is that what I can control is this. I can control the preparedness of the football team.
Sure.
I have no control over injuries.
Right.
I have no control over COVID.
That's true, too.
Right.
Okay?
Sure.
So what can I do? I can get 25 guys ready. I can get them all on the same page. At the same time, I want to emphasize to them that being a part of this football team, you're an ambassador. So in the first year, set the precedence. Let San Antonio know that you're community friendly. You know, get out there and like you said earlier, RC, about doing the sit-ups and the push-ups. One of the things that I've taught my football teams is this: I can't ask of you what I'm not willing to do. Mm-hmm. So running my 3 to 4 miles a day, doing my 330 push-ups, my 330 sit-ups, it's not a cakewalk, but I can't ask you to do something that I'm not doing. So as this football team, what are the things that I can do to make sure that we're successful in our first season? Well, get them prepared. Surround them with coaches that are going to get them prepared, get them equipped, keep them healthy, but also get them involved in the community. Get out there and do something. You know, get out there and do something. Go serve at the Jimenez Thanksgiving. And, you know, I say that, but I'm not trying to plug it, but, man, I don't even know if they're going to have it this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
I can talk about that because she's my best friend, Patricia Jimenez. I went to high school with her. And it's a dilemma right now for her because she wants to do it because she's been doing it for so many years, but how are we going to do it safely? Because it's all based on volunteers. Yeah. And so with COVID, we don't know how that's going to work, but the need of there is now more than ever. You know,
Yes.
we need to serve these people. So and I say we because I'm always in contact with her and we're talking about this. Are we going to have like a drive-through session? Are we going to, you know, have it where you just come up, pick up your plate? Are we going to have home deliveries? So it's going to be different, but if everything goes well, we're planning on to continue to have that. And that's, I'm more of like a community helper. And so even like a couple weeks ago when you came and you donated those cans, I really do want to feel part of the community. We have a great community here in San Antonio and a very giving and loving family. And so I want to bring that to the Gunslingers and also to our podcast, the Smoking Guns podcast. So we're actually going to be doing more of the community service. And so I've already talked to Patricia, and she's on board to see if we can get any help from the Gunslingers or from the podcast. And I know we've been talking about actually doing a fan drive.
Yep.
And so we're going to be starting that probably in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be collecting fans, having people donate fans, and then pass them to the Catholic Charities, and they will be in charge of passing them out to people who don't have fans. And now, especially with COVID, people losing their jobs.
Absolutely.
You know,
and
we
believe it
really
or
need
not,
that.
like I realize that most of us that listen to this podcast or spend time around this podcast don't live in a world where this is true, but not everybody has that air conditioner that you have in your house.
They don't.
And if it's 100, if it's 98 degrees outside, it's 98 degrees inside.
Yeah, that Texas heat can get really bad,
I've
especially
done-
coming months.
I've done some work down up in Llano last summer. We took a group up there, and a lady had no air conditioning in her home, her trailer, and all she was asking was for us to build a screen door on the front of her house because she already had a screen door on the back of her house. And if she had them on both sides, she could open up those doors and there would at least be a breeze that blows through her house. And I had students come up to me and go, I can't imagine a world where I don't have air conditioning. And I said, man, it's the reality for some people. So doing something like gathering fans. Fans are what, $25? You can get a box fan for $9.99.
Really, you go to Walgreens,
And
Walmart.
and that could be the difference that could be a huge difference for someone.
Yes.
Right. And our little slogan, we're still working on it, but it's like, if you're a fan, you know, purchase a fan and be a hero, you know, because that's all it takes. If we all can purchase one fan, and we're going to be collecting them, and then we'll take them to where they can be dispersed. We really need you as a fan, football fan, gunslinger fan, podcast fan. If you could do that, that really will help us to give back to the community. And that's really what we want to do.
What was it? It was be a fan, bring a fan, be a hero.
That's
There
right.
you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
I love the fact that you say 7-3 is a goal because it's a realistic goal. You're not saying we're going to go out and we're going to be undefeated and we're going to win championship in our first year. Like, you'll take that if that's what ends up coming your way. Absolutely. I feel like there are people out there that have this, and it's never people that have played sports before, but they have this mentality of, if you give in, you know, if you're realistic like that, then you're not bought in all the way. Yeah. And that's just not true.
I understand how much competition there is. I'm bringing 25 guys that have never played together.
Yeah.
That's why, way before we ever take the field, that's why I want them to go with me to a hospital. I want them to go to the cancer ward where the little boys and the little girls are at, because there's nothing like reality to bring you back together. One of the things that I've learned is some of the best leaders are servants first.
Sure.
Some of the best leaders are servants first. So the thing is this, is that I want them to do things. I want them to go to some of these middle schools and speak to these kids. There's one thing that I'm really pushing for, and I was going to talk to the ownership, but I guess they're going to find out now.
Yeah, they're going to hear it because they listen. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
I want to broker a practice where we adopt a Pop Warner team and say, this Saturday, you practice with us.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Every guy on our football team, quarterback, go get the little boys that are quarterbacks. You're working with them. Receivers, you're working with the little ones. Everybody on that team, you're working, whoever he is. If he's 12 and you're 30, that's your practice partner. Work it out. Imagine the experience that little boy's going to have to go home and tell everybody, I practiced with a professional team this weekend.
Awesome.
What did you do? Oh, you were on Xbox. Yeah, bro. I was smashing heads with Pierre Turner, the anchor of the defense. What about you? I caught passes from David Olvera. Really? Yeah, I tried to cover Cameron Johnson. What? Yeah. So it's things like that I'm not going to wait till the third year, because I'm a businessman and I'm not naive. So if we do things right, then God willing, we get another season. But I'm not going to wait to get to a point and say, okay, now I can do something for San Antonio. It doesn't work that way. I'm going to do whatever I can, whether it's drive up to a Target parking lot and bring something or go buy a fan on my way home tonight. But the thing is don't wait to be a blessing.
Right. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we did as we knew you were coming on is we pushed it out to social media to ask questions. And I was really kind of scared to do that. I thought we were going to get this deluge of questions and we were going to have to spend the whole time talking to you about what everybody else wanted to know. Strangely, we didn't get a ton, but I got a few.
Okay.
So these are questions that got sent in. I got one from Louis Jaramillo. You know that guy?
Vaguely.
So here's the thing. We got a couple of players that emailed us and said, I want you to ask him what he thinks of me. So I'm going to ask you, and you take this opportunity to say whatever you want. If you end up putting them on blast, they asked for that.
Okay.
So Louis Jaramillo says, how does he feel about Louis Jaramillo's helping out on the offense, and what does he think he can bring to the team? So what would your response to Louis be?
I wish Louis was 25 pounds lighter.
Okay.
Because when Louis played running back, he pretended like there was no out of bounds. He was going to run through you. He didn't believe in juking.
Okay.
If you were in the way, Louis was going to run through you. And you were going to hear it from across the field. Wasn't the fastest, wasn't the biggest, but don't let size fool you. Louis was going to, make no mistake, he was going to lay the lick into you. You were going to be in the collision, but you were not the one initiated. And I'm like, Louis, run out of bounds. Run out of bounds, Louis.
See that sideline?
Feels better to run through somebody. I'm like, Louis.
Well, I got good news, Louis. There is no out of bounds now.
Yeah. So, he's going to help me in as an interim coach, and he's going to be helping us. But if I had it my way, I'd get him in the gym and take 25 pounds off of him and say, here's number 22. Get yourself ready. This guy served time in Afghanistan.
Awesome.
Thank you for your
Endured
service.
multiple mortar attacks. Mortar attacks. This guy saw battles face to face. And if you speak to him, docile, humble, just a good man to meet. He makes you better.
So I got another one for you. You ready? I'm sorry. This may not be from this person. It is from an anonymous fan.
Okay.
Here's their question. How do you feel about the possibility of signing Boss Hogg, one of the most dominant linemen in semi-pro? And how do you believe he can help your team?
We were actually going to trade him. So William Richardson is a good young man. He's a good young man. He's coachable.
Good.
And he's a beast. He really is. He's coachable, and he allows you to lead him. So the thing is that got good plans. He's the kind of he still has a good 10 years of football in him. 10 years of football. So he's the kind of guy that can still play another 10 years.
Yeah.
And hopefully hand the reins over and say, okay, it's your time to coach.
So there's a word that you mentioned, coachable. I've never played football. I played Pop Warner for like half a season, and then I quit, and that was the dumbest decision I ever made in my life, but I did it. I never played football. I never coached football. But in my estimation, and all the time I've spent around the sport now as a 40-year-old man, I would say the ability to be coachable is the number one thing that somebody's got to have. If they have that, you can do something with them. And if they don't have that, it doesn't matter what else they have. It's almost worthless.
If you ever meet a young man by the name of Brandon Armstrong,
Okay.
or Kali Rashad.
I know a Brandon Armstrong, but it's probably not the same one.
Okay, this Brandon Armstrong played at UTSA.
Okay.
And has played for me several years. And he is one of the most gifted football players you will ever meet. And so humble. And just, hey, Brandon, I need you to line up here. Okay. Just popped off a 75-yard run. Brandon, I need you out. Not why, he never throws his helmet. Literally goes to the bench, sits down, grabs a bottle of water, sips, stands right next to me. I'm like, where are you? I'm right here. You ready? Yes. Not, hey, coach, put me in. Hey, coach, put me in. Hey, coach, put me in. He doesn't throw temper tantrums on the sideline. That's what I mean by coachable.
Sure.
Just, you let me know when you need me to do my thing, and I will do my thing.
Nice.
So I've got a couple of questions from Alba Nyava. Do you know her?
No.
Okay. Well, she has a couple of questions for you, Coach.
Oh, my.
How would you describe your coaching style?
Oh, I can be a jerk.
Okay.
One of the things that I've learned is that you'll never be successful until you have the courage to piss people off.
Yeah. If you're trying to make everybody happy, you will not
It's
be
not going to
successful.
happen.
Doesn't work.
The thing
And by the
is
way,
this,
you won't be successful pleasing everybody
no,
either.
that's
true.
Like you
So-
can't do that either.
I operate, and I know they can't see it because we're in a podcast, but it's the way I dealt with my children. From day one, it's a grip. But once I see you get a little bit more, I release, and I release, and I release. One of the things that I tell my football players, how I coach, you supervise children, you manage men. You supervise children, you manage men.
I like that.
If you act like a child, I don't have time to supervise you. I need to manage people. So there are football players, like I said, that are offended that I didn't get a call. It's because I have to supervise you. Because you're just an explosion. We're looking for guys, and the kind of people, the kind of coach I am, I'm going to manage you. I'm not going to bar you from being a man. I'm not going to bar you from being that beast. You want to rip somebody's head off? Fantastic. But when the whistle blows, stop. Stop.
Yeah.
Go back to the huddle and get ready. And when we snap that ball, rip his head off again. But when the play is over, get back to the huddle.
Right.
Because if not, you're going to hear it from me.
Sure. She also asked what led you into the coaching world. I think we kind of covered a lot of that
Yeah,
in that
we did.
first
Yeah.
segment.
Yeah.
And the coaches that have made a big impact on you and the way that you kind of want to be that same sort of impact for young men on your teams. Most importantly, she says, what's one thing that you enjoy of San Antonio's culture?
That's a big
That's a
one.
good question.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
This is why we ask other people for questions. I never thought of that question.
I love the climate. I love the
You're not talking about the actual weather.
no, not the weather. I'm talking the people.
Sure.
The people, because I've been in other places, and but it is changing.
It is.
The whole world is changing.
It's changing, and I don't recognize my city like I used to. But there's a young man that I'm hoping will play for us. His name is Trey Anderson,
Okay.
and none of us are strangers to what happened. So when you ask me what I love about San Antonio, Trey Anderson is what I love about San Antonio. Trey Anderson. He's a coach at O'Connor High School.
Okay.
And Memorial Day weekend, if you remember, George Floyd was murdered.
Yes.
And all hell broke loose all over the United States.
Right.
There was protests all over the place. And we had protests in downtown San Antonio. There were broken windows and shattered things and graffitied. What do I love about San Antonio is Trey Anderson. Trey Anderson is a coach at O'Connor. And on Sunday, he took his broom, his dustpan, trash bags, and coordinated guys and women and men, to go downtown and sweep and clean up the damage that others had done. If that doesn't personify San Antonio,
Sure.
that's what I love.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, it wasn't, the city of San Antonio didn't send their employees.
Right.
Trey Anderson went. And I'm like, he's the kind of guy that makes me a better man. So if you ask me, what do you love about San Antonio? That kind of ingredient.
I love it. I love it. You know, I love San Antonio. I'm not from here. I've been here about 12 years. Came from the Dallas area. That's where I grew up. That's where I was born, where I grew up. I'm still a Mavericks fan. Sorry.
Nobody's
We
perfect.
forgive you.
Nobody's perfect.
It's just
We
who
all
I
have
am.
our flaws.
But Dallas, and for that matter, Houston, all of these large cities that are around us, and even some smaller cities, feel like large cities. San Antonio has always felt to me like a community still. It's a big city. Like we're one of the largest cities. We're what?
Number 8, I think. Somewhere
in the country,
somewhere up there,
right?
yeah.
And yet, you can run into David Robinson at a stoplight. Like those kind of things happen here. That doesn't happen in Dallas. Like I stood in line for 4 hours to get Rafael Palmeiro to sign an Upper Deck baseball card, and then he turned out to be a roided out dude that baseball card's not worth anything anymore. Thanks a lot, Rafael. But anyway, not that I'm bitter about that
Obviously
or anything.
not.
But you don't see that. You can run into people here in San Antonio that, that's Tim Duncan, that's David Robinson or Becky Hammond. Like you can run into those people here. And your players are going to have to live in a community where that's possible, where everything they do, somebody could see that and connect them to the Gunslingers, and you could get a phone call or a message, a link you already have. You were telling us, we don't need to tell the story on it, but you've already gotten some links from this guy came and tried out for you, and look what he's posting on social media.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the kind of community that this is, and I like the small town kind of feeling. RC is not a football person.
I'm not.
She's not.
Okay.
And that's okay.
I'm a cheerleader, though.
But she loves to find out. She just has this group of questions that she loves to ask that gives us really good insight into people.
Okay.
And so we're going to wrap things up. I wish we had a whole nother hour, and at some point you're going to have to come on and do another one with us as we get closer to the season. But we're going to wrap things up with RC and her questions and see they're not hard.
They're not hard. They have nothing to do with football. So
Okay.
you should take a deep breath and let it all out. Okay. So being San Antonio, and we all love our breakfast tacos, what would be your favorite breakfast taco?
It's a tie.
A tie. Okay.
Carne guisada with cheese
Yes, sir.
and the barbacoa.
Okay. From
With
where?
cilantro and cebolla and salsa. Where?
Where?
Well, I used to have a place right there off of Hildebrand and I-10. It was called Cristan's.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'd been going there since I was a little boy, to the point to where it would offend me if they would bring me a menu. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
You know who I am? Do you know who I am? You know, like, I'm a made guy. So,
There you go. There you go.
but now there's a little place over there off of Culebra called Fajita Express, and they, the only thing is I always have to tell them, hey, make sure and cook the tortillas. I don't want them to be all elastic. So
Is it the Fajita Express on Culebra by 1604?
right there?
Okay, I've been there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like it.
But I try to stay away from them because I'm trying to.
You got that challenge going, right?
Yes, and I started a new one today. So
What's the challenge?
it's a 75 hard. It's 75 days in a row.
Oh, my God.
I got to drink a gallon of water, which I already have, and plus I have to read 10 pages of something that makes me grow as a person. Okay. So it's not like 50 Shades of Grey. It's got to be something that grows me. Because John Maxwell is one of my favorite authors. I read David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me, which all of the football players will have to read. But it's 2 workouts and both workouts are 45 minutes long, but one of them has to be outside. So tonight when I go home, I'm going to do 45 minutes of push-ups outside. And so it'll take me around 450 push-ups.
Where do you get these challenges? Or you just make them up?
No. I do a lot of reading and I do a lot of research, and I follow like David Goggins and Andy Frisella. So I'm always looking for things that are going to grow me and challenge me. But, you know, like I told somebody the other day, I need a T-shirt that says, Tony, be quiet.
Okay.
Because the other day, somebody, back in June, somebody goes, hey, you want to try this challenge? I said, what is it? He goes, it's just 330 push-ups and 330 sit-ups and 3.30 miles. I'm like, I can do that.
I could do that in 75 days.
What's every day for 30 days?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, no. I'm out.
Every day for 30 days.
We're out.
And, after like the second or third day, it hurt to cough.
Uh-oh.
You know, so, I was nervous to cough because they're like, do you have COVID? I'm like, no,
I know. I'm really scared to cough.
But man, those are my two favorite tacos.
Okay,
I was walking by somebody today in Walmart. I was going to pick up some stuff that we actually needed for the show. And I'm in Walmart, and my mask or whatever just kind of tickled my nose, and I sneezed. And like 4 people
backed away.
Looked at me, and I thought they were going to jump me because I had a... Anyway, go ahead, RC.
Okay, so your favorite song or your top 2 songs that are in your playlist?
Ooh. Oh, I'm going to tell on myself because, my wife laughs because everybody sees this rough, yelling, screaming, but it's the movie is A Star Is Born with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Yes,
it's a great movie.
And there's a couple of songs in there that just stopped me dead in my tracks and had me thinking about my wife. So,
How many years have you been married?
I just got married.
Congratulations.
I was married 20 years, and they divorced me. And I say they divorced me because I didn't want to get a divorce. Biblically, I don't believe in it, but it is what it is. And I was bummed out, and I had a friend of mine named Chip Thornsberg, and great friend of mine, and he told me, you really need to meet somebody. And I said, yeah. He goes, why don't you get on one of those dating sites? I said, I'm not going to do that. He goes, Tony, it's $139. I said, I'm not paying $139 to meet a woman. I'm ugly, but I'm not that ugly. And he goes, no. It's for 6 months. I said, oh, $139 for 6 months? He goes, yeah. I said, okay. Yeah, that doesn't sound. So I got on, and, every morning you wake up and there's X amount of people that or apparently they click with you. And, it wasn't working out. And after a couple of, I think it was like a month or 2 months, I wake up one morning and there's this one lady, and she only posts 2 pictures, and she wasn't in a bathing suit or, itty bitty shorts. She was just in a shirt, a beanie, and I'm like, I couldn't take my eyes off her. I'm like, who is this? Me, I tried to hack the site. I was trying to put 30 fake pictures of me, man. I'm all like, I got to get somebody to help me hack this thing. I got to do something, and. So I sent her an email, and I said, hi, my name is Tony. I would really like to meet you. And the next day, she didn't respond. And like 3 or 4 days later, my buddy Chip talks to me. He goes, hey, have you heard from her? I said, no, I haven't. He goes, well, she might be busy. I said, oh, come on. How busy can you be not to respond to, hi, my name is Tony. I'd like to meet you. It's not that hard. I said, it's not. You're not going to play me. And I said, I tell you, man, every time I want to meet somebody, they never want to meet me back. I said, it's just not right. He goes, well, she might be busy. She might be on vacation. I said, whatever. So around 9 to 10 days later, we talk again. He goes, did you hear from her? I said, no. And she better not respond. I said, she had better not respond. I said, because if she does, I'm going to tell her to get lost. I don't know who you think you are, but you don't make me wait. Not me. I got my life together. I'm a successful real estate agent. I own my own home. You will not make me wait 14 days. I don't know who you think you are, but you will not do that to me. So she better not respond. The next day I wake up and I see an email that says, hi, Tony, I'm Sherry. I was like, hi. And we met, and it's weird because I told her last year, I said, you're my best friend. and she's my best friend. And I tell people, and I tell her that over a span of 20 years, somebody broke my heart, and this woman in under 6 months put it back together.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Wow.
So she's cool. So she's amazing. So she's probably getting mad because I told that story, but that's what you get for making me wait 2 weeks.
Payback.
Actually, I'll be talking to her on Wednesday, so we're going to do an interview.
So officially we were married in May. For now we're going on 3 years, but we've known each other for 4, and we do everything together. We go to the gym together. She's introduced me to asparagus
I see
because
that.
I'm a Mexican.
Yeah.
We don't eat that.
Right.
You know, I'd never eaten sweet potatoes. I'm a Mexican. It's like, no. You know, chorizo con huevo, papas oreadas. And we get married, and she puts asparagus on my plate. She didn't even ask me. You know, she just put it on there. You know,
she?
But
How
and
dare
being Mexican,
Right,
when they put it on
you
your
have to
plate,
eat.
you eat it.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm like, what is this? You know, and now, oh man, all kinds of stuff I eat now. I'm all cultured. So I'm like, look at me. So my complexion's clear. So yeah, she's introduced me. I'd never been to Starbucks.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Okay.
Yes.
We just became Facebook friends last week. I think I finally sent you a friend request, and you post cooking videos.
Yes.
I love cooking for
nice.
On a pretty regular basis.
I
I haven't
love
watched any of them, but I've seen them. Like
her. I love cooking for her.
that's great.
So I love spoiling her.
Okay, so what's your favorite? And I see that you have quite a few tattoos, and I actually have quite a few too. You can't see them. So if you had to get one more tattoo, what would it be and where?
I would probably put it somewhere on my back
Okay,
because that's the only space I have. I have around 32 tattoos. They
Oh.
all have meanings.
of course.
So if you see on my right, it's
I saw that one.
637 is what I always tell my wife. Always and forever. And if you look over here, it says 308. 308 is where I was. I grew up at 308 Rex over there by Edison High School. I live in a $300,000 home, but I refuse to forget where I came from.
Gotcha.
So if I were to get a tattoo, it would probably be on the backside. It would probably be an X, so that people know where to put the knife at.
Oh my gosh!
Well, because you know what? We live in a world right now where people are backstabbers. I'm like, you know what? Because I know you ain't going to put it up in my face. You know, and I know you ain't going to square up. So if you're going to put it, you're going to have to put it in the back. So let me give you a spot. So there you go.
Okay, last one. What's your favorite candy bar?
My favorite candy is the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And
Okay, I'm looking across the table at you, and she asked that question, and I'm like, he's going to say nothing because this
Oh,
man
no,
doesn't eat a lot of
everybody loves
candy.
candy.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So, and that's what I like about my wife because she likes Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. So we'll eat that. You know, we'll get the 4-pack, and you know, 2 for her, 2 for me, or so. But that's my favorite.
I get a 4-pack.
But-
I eat all 4.
I know.
Or, yeah.
Have you ever
Within
put them in the
seconds.
freezer?
You can tell by looking
Get
at
them
me.
nice and cold.
Yes,
That's good.
So I like to make her a little cheesecake cupcake, but I put the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup in there, and then I put the batter, and it bakes. So when
nice
she bites into
surprise.
the cheesecake, there's peanut butter in there. So
Nice.
Well, I'm a true believer that behind every great man, there's a woman.
Yeah.
And so kudos to her because I do see a lot of your videos and she cooks a lot and you seem very happy and a true blessing. But also I wanted to mention that we're trying to start a female kind of fan club and we're going to be calling it the Gunslingers.
okay,
So I might be sending her an invite. So tell her to
Okay.
look out for that.
I will.
So, Coach, we're going to wrap up our time. We've really enjoyed this. We hope we get, and we know we will get to spend some time with you as we get closer to the season. And you mentioned something that I thought we would have talked about earlier, and it's my fault. This is a great opportunity for you to plug yourself. You do real estate. You sell real estate, right?
I do.
And so people that are looking right now need to go where to find you to help them.
They can call me. You know how I got into real estate? I got into it by accident.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, and I got into real estate by accident because I was working on military aircraft and I got laid off. And the first house I ever sold, I bought it for $100. The house was so bad that you could drop a car in the house because the hole in the roof was so bad. It was a flip.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I sold it for $26,000 in under 3 days. And my friend told me you should get into real estate. And I was, but I wasn't because in the back of my mind, I was always telling myself, well, what if you don't sell anything?
Right.
So I took all my classes and went to take my real estate exam. and I flunked it. And I took it the second time, and I flunked it. And when I remember my ex-wife sitting me down and telling me, listen, I got to set you straight. I know you want to do this, but you need to understand you don't have what it takes. You're not made for that kind of profession. You need to be real and go get a real job because you're not going to be a real estate agent. And I called my mom very dejected because I had flunked the exam. And she told me, and she's not alive anymore, she said, son, how many times have I told you that he'll open your eyes to things that you can't see and he'll give you wisdom that you don't have? And right before I took my exam, I bowed my head and I said, look, I can't do this without you. I've studied as hard as I can, and either you're going to open up my eyes and give me understanding to succeed, or I'm going to fail it again. And at the end of the exam, I passed. The lady was so excited. She's like, hey, you passed. I'm like, how about that? And I didn't have to do it in crayons. 13 months later, I was Real Estate Rookie of the Year. Nobody had sold more homes in San Antonio than I had. And I've never looked back, and I'm on pace to do 6 to 7 million this year. So I specialize in helping people buy and sell, and I try to take care of my clients as best as I can.
So if they Google San Antonio, Tony Hernandez real estate, they're going to find you?
It'd be better if they call 210-624-1458.
There you go.
There you go.
There you
You
go.
know, that's the number to call. So,
Well, Coach, it's been a great time. We are excited about what's going to happen going forward. We're excited about Gunslinger football. We're excited about everything that's going on. I would be remiss. We need to do some business real quickly because there is a breaking, as much as a breaking story in San Antonio arena football that can be out there, is out there right now. And I feel like we have to address it.
Okay.
Yesterday there was a post that went out that said that the Baltimore Brigade, who used to play in the Arena Football League, which is now like 6 teams and not near what it used to be, had been purchased and was being moved to San Antonio to play in the Indoor Football League. Yes. If you saw that, you may have immediately thought, what does this mean for the Gunslingers? And that's pretty much what we thought too. So here's what I'll tell you, and I'm not going to share a lot of information because I've always believed you don't build a taller tower by knocking other people's down. So I've done some research. You can do some research into the group that owns the Baltimore Brigade right now. You can look at some of that, and I can tell you that I would be shocked. I would be surprised if the San Antonio Brigade, which is what they're talking about trying to bring here, ever actually take the field. Just based on the little amount of research I've done in the last 24 hours, it doesn't look like that's going to be a viable option, certainly not for 2021. So if you're worried about, hey, do I get excited about the Gunslingers? Do I buy into this if there's something else right around the corner that may be bigger and better? I don't see that being the case. Mm-hmm. But do your research, because this is San Antonio football, and we know that there have been good stories and there have been bad stories, and we've all been burned by those. So do your research. Start looking into the Baltimore Brigade. And you'll find the information that you want to make your decision on. But I'm telling you right now, based on if you want to just take somebody's word for it, I don't think you should do that. I think you should do your research. But if you want to take somebody's word for it, I've done some research. Leo, you've done some independent research. You did your own. And I don't believe that this is anything that will ever even exist. I don't think they'll ever even take the field.
Probably not. And even if it does, I don't see it happening in 2021, maybe 2022. But they're not here yet. They're not here. They're not from here. They're not ready to join the San Antonio community and do things for the community and build things here, grow roots, right, and create something that, as Coach has said, San Antonio can be proud of. And we already have an organization here that's already doing that.
Right.
So
I'm old school, and so I'm like, love the one you're with. And so I'm sticking with the Gunslingers.
Absolutely. And Leo makes a great point in that the Gunslingers are here. Like, we've seen players playing on the field. We're sitting across the table from a head coach.
They're real.
The Brigade doesn't have any of that. And if they do, then there's a time to make a decision. But don't let this... My big concern is that people will see that announcement yesterday and go, I'm not getting involved in either of these until I find out which one's going to win. Because I think we're all reasonable enough to know that 2 teams is probably not a sustainable model.
Let me interject and say if people are going to do that, then neither organization will win.
Right.
They'll both lose because they need the support.
Soundbite.
Okay.
Yeah.
To the Baltimore Brigade.
Yeah.
My name is Tony Hernandez, and I'm the head coach of the San Antonio Gunslingers. And San Antonio doesn't need a side piece. And if you'd like, come on down, because the San Antonio Gunslingers do need a punching bag.
Okay.
There you go. You heard it here first.
And you heard it from me.
There
That's
you
right.
are.
And
So
I didn't mumble, and I didn't stumble.
So I felt like we needed to address it, because if we did a whole show the day after that had surfaced and didn't say anything about it, that felt like we were being, hiding something or being disingenuous. But we've looked into it. We've done our research. I don't think it's anything to worry about. Support your gunslingers. And that's what you need to do. You need to, if you're a player, I chatted with a player today that said, are they still doing tryouts? Are you still doing tryouts in August?
We've got one coming in August,
Yeah.
and we've got one coming in September. And what we're going to do is that we're going to invite the top 40 to 45, and from there we're going to take it to 25.
There you go.
So the thing is that I want to clarify that, because some people get ahead of themselves, and I made the team. No, you didn't make the team. What you did is you made it to the next interview.
Got the next level.
You made it to the next interview. You showed us something on July the 18th that we really liked, and we want to bring you back because we want to take a look at you again. And then come August, we want to take a look at you. And if you do a good job, we're going to bring you guys with the ones from July 18th to the September one. Yeah. And based on all that, that's when we're going to bring you back and say, okay, guys, let's get it on.
So both of those, I'm guessing, both the certainly the August one, there is a $100 fee if you're going to come try out.
Yep.
And we've discussed this on the show before, but there are some players that say, well, that's just a cash grab. What do they need my $100 for? My thought on this, Tony, you tell me if I'm wrong, is if you're not willing to bet $100 on yourself, don't show up.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I don't doubt that you can play football. You just may not be able to play for us.
Right.
Because if you're not willing to invest $100 into you, but you'll go spend $100 on a pair of tennis shoes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
If you do things right, and if you handle your business, you have no idea who's in the stands watching.
Right.
Not only that, but like I've told some of the players, in 25 years, when you can't play football anymore, and you're babysitting your grandkids, and you make a comment about football, and your grandson looks at you and says, Papa, what you know about football? What you know about football? You don't know nothing about football. Hold on, son. Let me go to the bedroom and let me bring my scrapbook. Mm-hmm. Papa, who is that? That's me, son. Papa, you played? I played pro ball.
Right.
Whether I got paid $1 million or whether I got paid $500, you got paid.
Right.
You got paid. And that's the thing. There's a lot of guys that are out here that are belly aching, and I'm like, and that's exactly why I don't want you here.
Right.
That's exactly why. Because one of the things that I've learned is small thinkers will always get you in big trouble.
I like that.
Don't need you. Keep your $100 and stay over there.
Sure.
Stay over there. Go play where there's only 11 people in the stands.
Right.
Go over there.
Now, if you've got your $100 and you're not willing to bet on yourself, but you still want to be part of the gunslinger community, like me, I'm not putting down $100 and trying out. That's not my game. But you have there are T-shirts, San Antonio Gunslingers T-shirts. We all got one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There are military appreciation T-shirts that are there on the site. Some of us have those on order. A couple of us have those on order. They haven't come in yet.
Jerseys.
And the jerseys are out. They are they say number 1 and Gunslingers on it. Let me tell everybody out there, you need to go buy your jersey.
For sure.
It's $64, $65.
$64.99, I think. Yeah.
You need to go buy your jersey. You need to wear your number 1 San Antonio Gunslinger jersey. But I'm going to tell everybody on the podcast right now, when you wear your number 1 jersey, you need to understand there's only one number 1 jersey. There was one person that bought a jersey first. The first San Antonio Gunslinger jersey that was ever sold. You were all wearing my jersey because I am number 1. I was the first one to put my money down for a jersey. So you were all wearing my jersey, and that's the only way I'm going to get people wearing my jersey.
Okay.
That's the only way that's ever going to happen. But you need to support this team. You got to climb in behind it, and that may take some dollars, and it's certainly going to take some time and some effort. This thing can be successful. It will be successful. You want to say you were on board from the beginning. Am I right?
Be a part
Absolutely.
of history.
All right, we're going to wrap things up there. It has been a great show. It has been a long show. We're sorry we ran a little longer, but if you've been listening the whole time, you ain't worried about it because you've had a great time listening to Coach Hernandez. Smoking Guns Podcast is excited to announce three new Patreons, patrons on our Patreon.
Patrons.
Yeah, we have Mo and Iris Ferrante.
Ferrante.
We'll get it
Close
eventually.
enough.
It's close enough? Okay, good. Mo and Iris jumping on board with us first. We are super excited to have them. And then Herman
My
Robles
favorite.
Jr.
Herman.
Yes. Woo, Herman.
Super excited to have him. They are part of our team. You can be part of our team. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the show. We are super excited to have them. Smoking Guns Podcast is also brought to you by
Texas Sports LMT, licensed massage therapist. Specializes in sports massage, sports stretch, Swedish, and deep tissue massage. Texas Sports LMT, licensed massage therapist, has been in business 8 years and was nominated Best of San Antonio 3 years in a row. I think I've been going to her for at least the last 5, so almost the whole 8. So that's pretty good. And
Well,
I
you
love
said
it.
going to her, but she's coming to you.
Actually, she does come to me. She
Right?
comes to my house. Yes, she does. So that's expertise in your home. She's worked alongside the San Antonio Commanders, making sure they were game day ready at all times. She has worked and provided sport stretch. I have no idea what that is, but I'm sure if you're an athlete, you would. To numerous players from the NFL and the NFL Combine. Sport stretch is structured to be formed on athletes of any size or stature. It is safe for just about anyone who is looking to gain flexibility in order to perform better on the field,
That's
in the
important.
gym, and in everyday activities. So just you and me, I can go for this sports stretch. So give Laura, the Texas Sports LMT, a call to set up an appointment today at 210-459-0176. Remember, it's not how you train, it's how you recover. That's really important.
It is. Smoking Guns Podcast is also brought to you by Always Green Lawns of San Antonio. In San Antonio, artificial grass lawns are an incredibly popular addition for many different types of commercial and residential applications. Their turf is child and pet friendly.
Ooh.
They design top-of-the-line putting golf greens. You need one here in the backyard.
I need it badly.
They do putting greens. They do lawn turfs for daycare centers, schools, parks, public walkways, shopping malls, and apartment complexes. Their skilled designers and installers work diligently to create flawless-looking artificial grass applications for locations of all sizes, shapes, and budgets. They provide the look and feel superior to any other synthetic grass on the market, offering top quality at great prices all around San Antonio and the surrounding areas. Imagine dealing away with a portion of your home or commercial property maintenance budget while you conserve water, you save time, you protect the environment from pesticides and herbicides. You don't have to mow in 100-degree heat.
And it
Ever
looks
again.
great all year
And it
round.
looks good all year round.
Amazing. It really
when
is.
everybody else's grass is brown in your
Right.
neighborhood
Yours is
because
green.
everything's dead,
Like
yours
mine.
is green.
That's right.
Save money, save time, help the environment with a product that pays for itself. Not to mention, our grass products will always make your property look beautiful. This is a perfect time to call Always Green Synthetic Lawns and upgrade your lawn. 210-413-1034. That's 210-413-1034. Call Always Green Synthetic Lawns today. We've had a great time today, spending some time talking with the coach. We are excited to see what happens next.
Ecstatic. I'm ecstatic.
There's
More and more coming.
yeah, there's more coming very, very soon, and we've had a great time just getting involved, getting started in this first month. The show's been around a month.
Wow.
Really?
Time flies.
Wow,
Pretty
when
much.
you're having fun, it really does go by fast.
I mean, it feels like it's only been 2 weeks, but it's been a month.
We've
Before
done
you
a
know
lot.
it, it's going to be,
We got things started, and
preseason.
now we're going. So here's the deal: when you need the evidence that the San Antonio area is primed for football, you don't need to look very far. There's
here.
evidence in our fans. There's evidence in the football.
Yep.
There's evidence in the tailgates.
Yep.
There's evidence everywhere you look. All you need to do to find the evidence that football in San Antonio will work is look for the Smoking Guns.
That's right. Bang, bang.